Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sewing Thursday with T. It has been a nice 2-week break, but I am back and ready to tell you things about sewing. So I am, of course, T of Sewing by T, my sewing blog, and Simply by T, my fabric shop. And I'm prepared to tell you all kinds of sewing things today. So today we are going to talk about thread again. And you're probably thinking, T, we've talked about thread. Is there really more to talk about? And I'm telling you, yes, there is. We're going to talk about how important it is to read your user's manual because I learned new things this week. We're going to be talking about tracing paper and the advantages to actually tracing out your pattern. And at the very end, I'm going to cover the new French terry that we have coming into the shop. So while I'm waiting for people to get loaded on, I just want to make sure that you know that it is really important to us that you hit like on my videos. It makes a huge difference as to whether Facebook shows these videos to other people. Make sure that you comment hi as you're popping on because that's really important to us too. I want to make sure that I see that people are seeing me. And finally, last but not least, if you share this video, it means that more people will see what's going on. And I promise you the input for today, this is good stuff. This is things that I actually learned this week. And you're probably thinking, T, you've been sewing for 20 years. How could you have possibly learned something new? Well, let me tell you, I did. So let's get started. So if you follow my Facebook page, Sewing by T, not Simply by T, but Sewing by T, you'll know that I have been fighting with my machine lately. Me and my machine, we have been back and forth, and I'm breaking stitches, and all kinds of crazy things are happening, and I could not figure out why. So here's some important things that you need to know. Welcome, Caroline. I am glad you are joining us here. So I am over here talking about thread. So most people think all thread is the same, thread is thread. So that's not true. And we've talked about the types of threads that I like. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about straight wound thread and cross wound thread. Okay, so let me explain, kind of show you what I'm talking about. This is a straight wound bobbin. It's a Coats & Clark dual duty. And if you look nice and close, you can see that those threads just wrap around and around and around, right? No big deal. This is probably the thread that most people are using, unless you've been watching my videos, and then you know that I love the Gutermann Mara threads. So super awesome, good stuff. So the Gutermann Mara is a little bit hard to see, so I have this Maxi Lock cone here. And this is a cross wound thread, okay? So cross wound means that it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, instead of in a perfect circle. And you're probably thinking, why does this matter? Why does it matter whether it's straight wound or cross wound? Here's the thing, and I actually didn't know this. I had to figure it out after I kept breaking threads and was saying a lot of curse words. Everybody's sewing machine has a pin. This is actually not a pin. This is the stylus from my sewing machine, but it's going to work for demonstration purposes. And your pin, your machine should be able to have a pin that goes horizontal and one that goes vertical. Even my Hello Kitty machine has the option of putting on a separate pin that sits vertically. If you are using straight wound thread, it is best that it sit vertically or horizontally. So straight wound thread sits horizontally. Cross wound thread needs to sit vertically because as you're pulling the thread out, if you do it this way, it's fine, right? But if you're pulling the thread out this way, let's see if I can put some of these caps on here to hold it in place, because this is really good stuff for you to understand. If you pull it out this way, the distance that the thread is, you'll see how that fell like that. That right there, when it falls, can cause skip stitches. And this is why I kept skipping stitches. So normally I have my big giant cones and they sit behind my machine. Well, behind my machine would be vertical. Vertical is what cross wound spools like. And so I didn't have skip stitches when I used a big giant spool, okay, because it was sitting like this and feeding up, and so everything was fine. But when I use my little ones, I kept having that little loop that would fall down, and it was skipping stitches, and I was saying a lot of bad words. So if you are using cross-wound thread, sit it vertically on your machine. And so while we're talking about sitting things vertically on your machine, my machine came with 3 spool caps, okay? And these Coats and Clark threads, I know, Joelle, I learned this last week. I learned last week that it made a difference, that these straight wound threads want to go this way, cross wound go vertical. I was mind blown. It made such a huge difference. Like, I stopped skipping stitches almost immediately. It was insane. Like, I swear to God, I just had to stop. I was like, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. But that's what happens when you're self-taught. You do a lot of things wrong because you don't know. Back to these thread spools. So if you notice, these thread spools are just about the same or even a little bit bigger on the outside. Hi, Karen. So they often have little burrs on them. And I have run into problems where it keeps catching and shredding my thread. So that is actually why they send you these spool caps. But of course, again, I probably should have gone to the classes for my sewing machine rather than just ignoring everything. So make sure that when you're putting your caps on, they hold tight so that when the thread is spooling, at no point is it going to catch anywhere. Karen, using a thread stand works great for threads because then they're all spooling vertically and you're not going to run into any problems. But I was putting these in, these smaller ones, because it didn't sit well on my thread stand. And so I was breaking threads and just driving myself crazy. I'm like, I know this should be working. So vertical is great if you want to do all of them vertical. My machine has the option to do horizontal or vertical just within my regular area. So, you know, make sure that you're really paying attention to what your machine likes. I'm sure there has to be a machine out there that prefers it the other way. Who am I to like say that all machines? So if you're running into problems and you're really struggling, make sure that you just try turning the spool the other way. As I was saying, these spools tend to get a lot of burrs on them. So before you sew with any new one, run your finger around both the inside and the outside edge and check for burrs. You can take a nail file and clean those up, but also make sure you're using the right size spool cap. Your spool cap should be larger than your thread. So this medium size cap would work, this large size cap would work, but do not put the small size cap to hold it in place. The purpose of that cap is to keep the thread from rubbing on those possible burr areas. Okay, so now we covered that, right? There was another thing I learned this week, and I learned it because I finally opened my user manual. I thought I knew what I was doing, so I just kept doing the same thing over and over again. Turns out that when I load a vertical spool, I am supposed to thread it just a little bit differently. So read your manual. Like, I can't tell you to read your manual enough, because there may be information in there. Like, I know it's not the most exciting thing to read, but there's somebody spends a lot of time writing your user manual, so please read them. Let's see, Crystal here is saying, I hate the spools like the green one with burrs. I don't buy them anymore. Yeah, I totally stopped buying these because they drive me insane, and I thought it was all my fault. So I have switched to the Gutermann Maras. I love these. And because this center part is tiny, it's not going to catch the way this does. So fabulous stuff. Shalini is saying that her thread shreds occasionally. So Shalini, there's a few things to go through and figure out why is your thread shredding. So number one is to make sure that there's no burrs on your needle. Obviously, that's really important. If there's burrs on your needle, then the fastest way to fix that is to change your needle. I actually ended up with a burr on a bobbin. And, you know, I was struggling. And I'm like, I change out the bobbin and it works fine. And then I was like, wait, if I'm changing out the bobbin and it works fine, there's something wrong with this bobbin. So I actually ran my finger around it, and I must have nicked it somehow with the needle on my machine. And so obviously I tossed that bobbin. So always check your bobbins if you're running into breakage. So change your needle, check your bobbins, check and make sure there's no burrs. Another thing that I did is I opened up the front part of my machine, and I didn't like take anything apart. There's just a little clip that I can pull off. And inside of there was all this fuzz buildup where the thread runs through. Well, obviously that's going to cause extra friction. So I wasn't getting skipping if I sewed really slow, but if I went fast, I started getting all this shredding, and I'm like, what's going on? So I cleaned that area out, and all of a sudden, no more skipping. So definitely clean out the bobbin case, take everything apart, clean that out. And honestly, you really should be doing that pretty frequently, at least once a week, possibly once a day if you're sewing with something really fuzzy like poly fleece that is gonna like shred all over the place. If you use cheaper thread, you're gonna get more fuzz in your bobbin case, so you're gonna have to clean more often. I found that my Mara threads don't shred that much. They actually do pretty well. So I don't have to clean as often, but I still have to clean it. So definitely take care of your machine. Your user manual will tell you what parts you can take apart, where you should possibly be putting oil. A lot of the newer machines say don't put any oil, but when I went into my repair shop and I said, okay, so I know my machine says don't put oil anywhere, but where might I want to put oil if I think that could be part of the problem? And they showed me a couple places. They're like, you can put a single drop of oil here. If that doesn't fix the problem, obviously bring it in. Okay, so we talked about thread, we talked about reading your user manual, and I think I'm going to give this another good read because I might actually learn even more stuff. I didn't realize I was threading it wrong, so whatever. All right, so as you know, I love PDF patterns, and I actually like putting them together. I'm a little bit crazy that way. But I don't like putting the same pattern together like 8,000 times. And I'm supposed to be making pajamas for my daughters and my nieces for Christmas. It's something my mom asked me to do. And I didn't want to print out the pattern 8 times because that's a lot of printing. And even though I didn't need all the sizes, that was still too much. So tracing paper. Tracing paper is your friend. So I know a lot of people trace onto wax paper, parchment paper, regular crafting paper. Tracing paper really is a worthy investment. It has a fabulous texture to it. So when you actually lay it down on your fabric, it actually has a little bit of grip, so it doesn't slide around the way regular paper does. So the tracing paper that I bought is Pellon 830. Let's see if we can, there we go. And I got it at Joann's. I used a coupon. I think it was 50% off a bolt, plus I had like an extra 25% off or something. But even though it looks like it's really thin and there's not a lot here, this is actually double-sided. And I've been using this bolt a long, long time. So if you're gonna trace your patterns, tracing paper is your best bet. It's a lot more sturdy. It's not going to rip as easily as you see. I'm trying to rip that and it's not going to rip apart, which is going to make it last longer. So this is really good for anything that you're going to save for a long time. Chances are that I'm going to need these sizes. My girls wear basically the same patterns over and over again. That's what they like, so that's what I make. So I only had to print out a few sizes. I traced out 2 of the sizes and kept the 3rd size as the original paper. So tracing paper is your friend. If you're going to be tracing patterns, I know it's a little more expensive, but if you're tracing patterns and you're going to keep them, you're going to want tracing paper. And like I said, it has a really great texture so that it doesn't slide the way regular printer paper does when you're printing. This, like I said, I really love this stuff, and I didn't think it was a worthy investment, but I did it anyway, and now I love it. So something to consider. And we are right at 15 minutes. So I can talk to you about the new French Terry coming into the shop. So I only have this color right now, but I do have other colors loaded in the shop. If you've been paying attention, there should go out an email probably later tomorrow, not my usual like 6 o'clock in the morning auto post, that will direct you to a poll to pick out the colors for the new pre-orders on this French Terry. So this French Terry is very similar in drape and feel to the poly French Terry, the denim one that I had in the shop a couple weeks ago that we completely sold out. So if you have some of that and you absolutely love it, then this is going to rock your world. This is actually a rayon poly spandex, so it's even softer. It's a really nice, lightweight. We've got this heathered black color that I've already picked out, that I already said we are absolutely getting this color. There is a darker denim color that I picked out, and probably an oatmeal. But I will be sending out an email with all of the colors so that you can vote on the poll. We'll get those colors in. Probably, the drape is fabulous. Just Karen's asking about the drape. The drape is just like the denim French terry that I had in the shop. It's practically the same fabric, only a slightly different fiber content. So it's rayon poly spandex. I think it's 63.29 something. So it promises to be absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to get my hands on it because I know it's going to make another fabulous cowl. Let's see if I can. This is actually cross grain, but you can see how it will absolutely drape softly if I had enough fabric to drape it. So you see how soft that is. But yeah, I am really, really excited about this one. When my supplier told me that they had no more of the denim French terry, I'm like, no, we sold out so fast, we need more. And so this was the substitute that they recommended, and I am in love with this stuff. So we are going to get that in the shop probably later this month. I know a lot of people have just finished up their Black Friday shopping and have zero extra cash left, and I totally feel you. So probably right after Christmas, after everybody gets their Christmas money, these will come into the shop, but there will be a poll, like I said, going out tomorrow. So you can pick your colors. I will pick probably the top 5 colors, but like I said, this black is mine. So black is not optional. But you can make sure that I'm not picking a different color than black if what you really want is black, by making sure that you vote for black and not something else. And I think that is it. So a quick recap. Make sure that you're liking this video. Crystal's asking if this will be reorderable. This will be reorderable. So that I know that's really important to a lot of people. And this is the heathered black. See if I can get this in close enough so you can see how it has just a little bit of variation in color. There's another similar one that will be a dark denim, a little darker than the denim French terry that we had before. As I was saying, so today we covered thread, straight and cross wound. If you don't know, go back to the beginning of the video, watch it again because it's awesome. Make sure that you like this video. Karen's asking whether I think we can make pants with this. It is pretty opaque. They're going to be really lightweight, so they're not going to be like a cotton lycra jogger. But I would say that, yes, they could be a good lounge pant, and it would be very comfortable to wear. All right, so I keep getting interrupted with questions. So let me just hold on a second. I will take a nice deep breath, and if other people have questions, because I want to make sure that I answer your questions before I go finishing up for today. And I see Crystal here saying, yay, staple fabric. And yes, I am so excited about this. We have a lot of good fabrics in the shop that I just love, and I will keep reordering as long as they are available, like our stretch twill, which I need to reorder very soon because you guys bought almost all of it. So you'll notice, I believe fuchsia is on back order. Khaki is very close to being on back order. Olive has like 2.5 yards left. So if you order those 2 yards, you'll get a half-yard piece. But yeah, that is what's going on. So as I was saying, read your manual. Your manual is your friend. It's not there to annoy you. There is important stuff in there. And if you are breaking threads, the first place you should be going after you try changing out your needle and cleaning out your bobbin case is checking to see what your manual tells you could be going wrong. Straight wound and cross wound threads, I was shocked to find that out. So, you know, if you're running into breakage, try switching it the other way. And I guess that is all I have for you today. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to share this in your fabric and Facebook groups so that other people can get to see it. And I will get those newsletters out later tomorrow. Thanks for joining me.